According to a recent CTV News article, over 2 million Canadians are set to renew their mortgages within the next year and a half. With three consecutive rate cuts already this year, many mortgage holders are asking the big question: should I choose a variable or fixed rate when it's time to renew? In today's video, I'm excited to have a special guest who will help guide us through the process of making the best suited decision when it comes time for your mortgage renewal. Whether you're looking to save money or seeking stability, stay tuned to this video to get the insight that you will need. Hi there and welcome. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sonia Ramgobin, realtor with Remax Rural Properties servicing the Durham region and GTA. So my special guest today here is Keisha Johnson, who is a mortgage broker with RTS Mortgage Financial with over 10 years of experience. Keisha strives to help individuals position themselves for home ownership. She runs education seminars for both future buyers and current homeowners. She has been a featured guest on Breakfast Television and has been honored with the Women on Fire Awards, celebrating female entrepreneurs around the world that are passionate about building their business and striving to help others do the same. Welcome, Keisha, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here and share my knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure you've been getting a lot of calls about this, about people that are homeowners and their mortgage is up for renewal. And with the three recent interest rate cuts, people are kind of on the fence and they don't really know what to do when it comes to choosing variable or fixed rate mortgages. So based on that type of scenario, do you have any knowledge on advice that we can give these viewers on what type of mortgages they should choose right now, whether to go variable or fixed?
That's definitely a hot topic, indeed, 100%. And no one has a crystal ball when it comes to, which direction to go in, especially when choosing something like the variable rate, where things can be unpredictable, right? So we always have to keep in mind that, we're living in a time where things are very unpredictable. And I think the key thing when it comes to choosing between a variable and a fixed is really understanding both products, right? Understanding, how it works. Now, of course, we know the variable, depending, the Bank of Canada has about maybe 9 meetings per year. And in those meetings, they decide whether they're going to increase the rate, they're going to keep the rate, or they're going to decrease the rate. So, this gives you an opportunity, of course, to understand or see a little bit of a trend where you can make a decision if you want to lock in, because with a variable rate, you can definitely lock in. And, this gives you that chance to say, hey, the rates have gone up a little bit. Maybe we do want to lock in. All right. Every variable comes with the opportunity to lock in. So if your stress level is really high, if you're not a risk taker, maybe the variable rate is not for you. If you're going to wake up every morning and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, what's happening? What's the Bank of Canada? If it's on your mind constantly, you don't have peace of mind when it comes to that variable rate, it might be better to go with a fixed rate. All right. Because those payments are standard. But if it's something that's always going to be on your mind and you find yourself very stressed out about it, you really want to make that decision or, really consider maybe sticking with that fixed rate. Overall, we know that rates are going down a little bit, right? Of course, over the last couple of meetings, as you rightfully mentioned, we've had a dip in the variable rate. We've also seen some dip in the fixed rate as well, right? And there's a good little trend that's happening, but at the end of the day, the variable rate, there's always going to be some risk attached to it. So you really want to follow the trends, keep an eye on it. But if it comes down to where your peace of mind is concerned, and you find yourself stressed out about that variable once you get into it, you may want to stick with something that's a little bit more consistent and something that is not going to give you that stress, and that is the fixed rate.
I think you bring up a great point, which I don't think a lot of people think about, is what it's going to make you feel, because you're exactly right. If it's something that's going to affect you on a day-to-day basis and you're going to constantly be stressed out on how the rates are going to shift, then I agree with you. Going into more of a fixed rate might be more suitable for you. And those that are willing to take a little bit more risk, then variable might be a best option. So I think that's an essential point that you hit on, that I think most people don't really think about. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, a next question that I have is, can you switch from variable to fixed or vice versa during the term if needed?
Yeah, 100%. So the variable rate does give you that option to lock in, right? So if as I mentioned, if for a few meetings you're realizing, of course, that the rate keeps going up, at that time you can contact your bank representative or your broker and inquire about, of course, locking in. Okay. Now, if you do have a fixed rate, you can't transition into a variable rate in that term. That's what you have. All right.
Okay.
But once you go into a variable rate, thank God that you do have that option where you can lock into a fixed rate, right? Of course, with the market that we're coming out of, where of course rates start to really spike. Of course, individuals, if you reach that point where you're really kind of considering to lock in, because of course you see that the rates keep going up, you definitely have that option. I will say that during that market, a lot of clients were coming to me and asking, Keisha, what's your advice, right? Because we're at historical lows. And I would say to the client, well, there's only one way this is going to go, all right? Because the rates right now are very low. And they would answer that question for themselves. They would say, up. I said, exactly. So what do you think you should do? And they would say, lock in. I said, yes. Mind you, even myself, being a risk taker, I wrote it out, right? Right? Probably not the best choice, but I am a risk taker. And that's why I said, if you have that appetite where you don't mind taking a little bit of a risk, okay, so, you might be open to the variable. But to clients, I was giving them the advice that locking in might be best because, we're at record low and there's only one way this is going to go, and this is up. So for those,
Yeah.
of course, they locked in and they reaped the benefits, of course, while I kind of wrote that out and my interest rates went high. So you got to just, pay attention to the trends and what's happening. And if you do see that things start to go up, you start to feel a little bit unsettled. Last few meetings, the rate just keeps going up. Yes, you want to have that conversation and speak to your broker. They should be able to advise you to some degree as to, what might be the best choice. At the end of the day, you have to make a decision that feels right for you.
Yeah. I think what's happened to a lot of people is that they did end up locking in at a rate. And now that we see things dropping and that there's more news that I think tomorrow is the
Yes.
next rate announcement. So people are actually, what I've heard is that it's going to actually decrease by 0.50, right? So
Mhm.
even more than last time. So I think those that are actually locked in are kind of regretting their choice. I mean, it's so hard because as you
Yeah.
mentioned, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't
Mhm.
time anything. We just don't know what's going to happen. But I think those that did lock in probably locked in for a shorter period of time. So
Yeah.
at least you know that after that time frame is up, you have that option at renewal to maybe go in variable if you, depending on where we're at in the market.
Right. And it highly depends on when they locked in, right? Because if they locked in where, the rates were maybe, 2%, 3%, they're okay, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of rates are really not there right now, right?
Yeah.
So definitely they're riding that out. So if they have even another year in that low rate, it's beautiful. All right. And
Yeah. That's
hopefully
true.
once that term ends, rates are favorable and they'll be able to bring in a new term with a much favorable rate as well.
Yep. Great. So my next question is that we've been hearing the new announcement about amortization. I think this was, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is only pertaining towards first-time buyers, where they have the option to increase their amortization. Now, is this something that you would advise those that are renewing their mortgage to do, or is that even an option that they have that choice to actually increase the amortization?
Yeah, so I mean, when the stress test came into play, what came into play with that stress test was taking away that 30-year amortization, right? And scaling it back to 25-year amortization. So now, of course, yes, first-time home buyers, they do have that opportunity to tap in once again to that 30-year amortization. So here's the thing, it's really understanding the 25-year, 30-year, depending on the lender, some even have 35-year amortization. So ideally, when you do go into a term, all right, let's say you start that term at a 25-year amortization. After a 5-year span, say your term is 5 years, you should be renewing into a 20-year amortization because remember, it's how long you're going to be paying off your mortgage. So if you're on course to pay off your mortgage over a course of 25 years, then if you went into a 25-year initially, when that 5-year term ends, then you should be renewing into a 20-year to remain on course to pay off your mortgage within that 25 years. However, life happens, finances are tight. And so when you stretch out that amortization over a course of 30 years or 35 years, right? The monthly payments are going to be less. All right. And so imagine stretching out that payment over a course of 25 years versus 30 years. Of course, those payments are going to be less. So once again, it comes down to what your budget and what your pocket is. Now, let's say over the next, 5 years, things get a little bit tight and it's time to renew the term as end. Yes, you may renew into a 30 years and it's okay. All right. Because you know that that's what works for you right now. That's where your budget is at. That doesn't mean in the next 5 years, you can't scale back and get back on
Okay.
track to paying
Okay.
off your mortgage over the course of that 25 years that you started. All right. So you do have that option. And once again, it comes down to what's your finances. That might be your budget, and it is what it is. We're renewing into a 30-year amortization, right? But the great thing is that the option is there, and that's awesome. Yes.
Okay. So just to clarify, you do have the option to actually increase the amortization during renewal if need be, if you're in a financial strain, and it'll make you
Yes.
a little bit more at ease with your payments. And then once that term ends and you're up for renewal again, you can always decrease that
Yes.
amortization. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So my next question is that now those that are going to be renewing their mortgage, now that the stress test is being removed for those that are up for renewal, and which is great because it now gives those mortgage holders the freedom to actually maybe search around for
Yes.
better rates at different lenders. Now, with that being said, should people seek advice from the bank for mortgage renewal advice, or should they talk to a mortgage broker? So what are the pros and cons of both, I guess?
Yeah, once again, whether it be that you're working with a mortgage broker on the broker channel or you're working with the from a branch level with a bank, either way, you always want to ask questions, right? You always want to work with someone who's able to provide you with the information that's needed so that you can make the right decision when where it comes, to when it comes down to your mortgage. Right. So it doesn't matter, the pros, when we say the pros and the cons, I mean, of course, with working with a mortgage broker, we have access to many lenders, right? And so if you are purchasing a property and maybe there's something for some reason, there's something with your file that one lender may not be able to work with, me as a broker now, I can quickly shift gears and find another lender. Whereas if you're working with the bank, that's where it ends. If you do not qualify for some reason, something kills the deal, that's it. All right. So you have to uproot and go to another bank. All right. With a
Right.
mortgage broker, we have the access to, okay, let us shift gears and let's get this file out to another lender. Keep in mind that, mortgage brokers, we also work with the banks, Scotia Bank, TD Bank, right? We
Mhm.
do work with the top fives as well. But overall, you just want to make sure whether it be you're with a bank, right, branch level, or you're working with a broker, make sure it's someone you feel comfortable with, someone you can ask questions, and someone's that's going to provide the right information so that you can make the right decision at the end of the day. Okay, because we're talking about your mortgage. It's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make, and you want to make sure while you're living in that home, you're comfortable and not kind of kicking yourself because you didn't get the right information, and you find yourself struggling because you didn't understand something. So whoever you're working with, just make sure you ask those questions, and I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the best thing. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely like I totally agree with you on that. It's that, as you said, like find somebody, whether that be a bank or a mortgage broker, about somebody that you can actually talk to and
Yes.
that they're going to be willing to take that time and explain the process and answer all your questions. Because, it's easy to just go to a bank and have that teller or whoever tell you that that's the rate that they're going to give you and then just get you to sign the papers and then that's
Yes.
it. But
Yes.
knowing that, I think that's like great advice about just being able to fully ask all the questions, just like we're having a conversation here, like that. These are questions that many people are probably wanting to ask, and these are the types of questions you should be able to ask to either your bank or a mortgage broker. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I have the monthly mortgage seminar. Whether it be your homeowner or a first-time home buyer, information. I really build my processing on information. I want for clients to be empowered in the process. I don't want you to kind of just stumble through the process, and when you get into the home, you're not even quite sure how you got there. I want you to be
Yeah.
able to even educate someone else. You have a friend or family member who's looking to buy. Based on the information that I provide, you're able to give them some advice as well, right? So I think information is key. Information is power, and you want to make sure that you surround yourself with a professional that's able to provide you with information that's going to aid you in making the right decisions. Yes.
Well, you kind of tapped into my last question, which was I don't know if you have anything to add to what you just said, because that was great. Do you have any other overall advice or knowledge that you would pass on to anyone looking to renew their mortgage?
Yeah, I say overall, especially with the changes right now, homeowners have a lot of option, right? Or a lot more option. I mean, before I would say that, maybe you were at the mercy of the lender you're with because there was not a lot of room to move or pivot because of the stress test. Now, with the stress test being taken out, you have a little bit more room, right? And so lenders are becoming a little bit more competitive, right? Because they know
Yes,
now that, clients might very well be able to shift gears and go to another lender. So I
for
would
sure.
say, just do your research, work with someone who you trust and, make sure that you understand what you're getting into. It's so important. I've had clients who've gone into mortgages and we're rate chasing is one thing, right? But you got to understand the product. Very quickly, I had a client that was in what was called a bona fide mortgage. And that's basically, that type of mortgage where there's only certain ways that you could come out of that mortgage. All right.
Hmm.
And if you don't know this, then life happens. You may need to get out of that mortgage for whatever reason. And then you realize that you actually might be stuck in that mortgage. So once again, it goes back to really doing the research, really making sure you understand the product. Yes, rate is one thing, but with that particular rate, is that the right product, right? Does that rate
Right.
put you in a position because it's a great rate? Yes, but then you may need to break this mortgage, and it's not that easy to break that mortgage based on that beautiful rate. So just understand the product and align yourself with someone who's able to explain everything. So when all is said and done, you have peace of mind.
Well, I think I totally agree with you. And I didn't even think about that because we tend to be so rate focused. And
Yes.
that's how we're basically making our decision, right? But to understand the entire profile of your mortgage, knowing exactly what it entails from start to finish, I think, as you mentioned, is a crucial component. So thank you again, Keisha, for taking the time to inform these viewers of all the questions that they may have in regards to renewing their mortgage. Can you share with us how our audience can reach out to you if they would like to?
Yes, 100%. So I am on Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel called Eye on Mortgage. Once again, building that platform on information and knowledge. So you can check me out there as well as on Facebook. And you can contact me, KJ at rtsmortgagefinancial.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I will also provide all of Keisha's contact information in the description box down below in case any of you have missed it and want to reach out to Keisha. Well, thank you again, Keisha. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.